Welcome to September 20th, 2011 Town of Wareham Board of Selectmen Sewer Commission meeting. I am requesting that all cell phones and electronic devices be turned off in a mute position as not to disturb the meeting. Any member of the public also has the right to make an audio or video recording of an open session of a public meeting. A member of the public who wishes to record a meeting must first notify the chair and must comply with reasonable requirements regarding audio or video equipment established by the chair so as not to interfere with the meeting. The chair is required to inform other attendees of such recording at the beginning of the meeting. We do have one person who is recording this evening. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move to appoint Kara Winslow, Clerk Pro Tempore.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, 4 selectmen are present. Mr. Holmes is absent this evening. Town Administrator Mark Andrews is present.
Are there any announcements?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have several. The last day to register to vote in order to participate in the October 24th, 2011 town meeting is Tuesday, October 4th, 2011. The town clerk's office will remain open until 8 p.m. for that express purpose. Municipal Open Space Seminar for Wareham, an information session for town officials to answer: what is open space? How is open space protected? What are the economic benefits of open space? How are we doing in Wareham? Thursday, the 29th of September, 2011, from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. in the Town Hall cafeteria, sponsored by the Wareham Land Trust. The Friends of the Wareham Free Library will be having the Friends of the Wareham Free Library Day at Chili's in Wareham at 2885 Cranberry Highway, Wednesday, October 5th, 2011, from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. When you present a Friends flyer, which we have several up here, 10% of all sales, food, beverage, gift certificates, etc., will be donated to the Friends of the Wareham Free Library by Chili's in Wareham. Flyers are available at the Wareham Free Library and at Spinney Memorial Library in Onset, and will be available soon on the Wareham Free Library website. Please help support the work of the Friends of the Wareham Free Library. And I do have a pile here tonight. That's all the announcements, Mr. Chair.
If there aren't any more announcements, citizen participation? If not, discussion of Westfield?
Mr. Chair, I don't believe there's anyone present for Westfield tonight.
Come back.
I said I don't see anybody here for Westfield tonight.
I have an update.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman, through you to the board, you have a brief update with regards to the Westfield project. We are working on a number of items regarding this project, and have been working with Peter Sanborn from our Community and Economic Development Office, as well as our Town Council. You have the brief update in memo form for your edification going forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Through you to Mr. Andrews. Mr. Andrews, I've read this memo, and I'm a little bit bewildered by it because, as you know, the Westfield project has been something that's been of great interest to me. And I've had conversation with Mr. Savageau, who this memo here indicates to me that someone has been trying to contact him in relation to the project, and I know that he's been trying to make contact with Mr. Sanborn in order to get a letter drafted, etc. And I'm a little bit bewildered by the memo. And can you fill me in a little bit?
I know, in fact, this was Bruce's idea, so I will facilitate in the morning, through you, Mr. Chairman, the connection between Mr. Savageau and Mr. Sanborn, who will be in the morning. And I was a little taken aback by it, too, but I wanted to make sure that the bottom part of the memo, the deadline, has been extended to Thursday, November 10th at 3 p.m., and that Mr. Sanborn is working very closely to get that information coordinated with Bruce to be able to get it out in a timely way.
Okay, so there is a meeting set up for tomorrow morning?
I will facilitate that.
Okay, I'd be happy to participate in that, Mr. Andrews.
Okay. Sure thing.
Thank you.
Now, we do have quite a few meetings tomorrow, so just... Consent agenda? Authorization to sign bills and document.
Mr. Chair, I'll double check, but I don't believe we have any bills this evening.
We don't. We'll move on to interview and appointments.
Mr. Chair, might I suggest that we conduct the interviews and hold off till next week when Mr. Holmes is here for appointments, because he has all the stuff for the different committees.
I think all the appointments all the interviews have been made. I think we've been putting this off for a while, so if we can go ahead and proceed.
Well, we have to interview for the Library Board of Trustees, and Mr. Flaherty had sent an email that the Library Board of Trustees had not yet interviewed the applicants and asked us to wait on appointing them. We also have a Zoning Board of Appeals application that we haven't interviewed as of yet either.
I'm going to put it before the board. I think we should. Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, as liaison to the Board of Health, we do not have a functioning Board of Health. They do not have a quorum at this time. 2 of the full-time members have resigned, so I would strongly urge this board to make those appointments this evening.
Okay, since the Library Board of Trustees, we'll just go right on down the line and appoint them as we go. Thank you.
Okay, first up, we have interview to the Clean Water Committee. I believe we have 2 vacancies on the Clean Water Committee and 1 application by Janet Jones. That's the only application in the file.
I think you have George Hempel.
I remember seeing that application.
Right, I think
Or
the
no.
way they have it listed there, I think is to go through it and you find it. They've got it kind of confused on that.
Okay, we have a letter from the Clean Water Committee from the chairman that says they have not been able to have a meeting to discuss the application of Mr. George Hempel and meet the deadline as required. As chairman, I will make the recommendation. Mr. Hempel has attended all of the Clean Water Committee meetings, 3 to 4 during this past summer. I have found Mr. Hempel very eager to learn and to participate. He works very well with the other members of the committee and has become an integral part of the committee. Mr. Hempel recently attended our tour of the wastewater treatment facility, and his background in engineering and as a previous member of the Hanson Conservation Committee has been very beneficial. I highly recommend Mr. Hempel for membership on the Clean Water Committee. Sincerely, Edward J. Pasevich, Chairman, Clean Water Committee. I'm still looking.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Now I
We
have it.
2 vacancies and 2 nominees. Want to make a motion?
Have we interviewed these?
Excuse me?
Have we interviewed both these applicants yet?
Well, that's all we have is the 2, so.
Right. But have
And
we?
I think they had already interviewed them. The chairman interviewed them. I don't think there's. Do we need to interview them?
Well,
Are they here?
Yes.
Okay, we'll ask them to come forward. And Janet Jones? State your name and
Janet Jones, Precinct 2, Onset. I've prepared something if you'd like me to see.
yes, if you don't
Okay.
mind, go ahead.
I am a U.S. citizen, and I am registered to vote in Wareham. I have attended 3 meetings with the Clean Water Committee, and I find that they're an intelligent and dedicated group of people who understand the importance of clean water and know that it does not come naturally. Prior to my moving to Onset, I lived on a lake for 17 years, and now I am like 500 feet from the shoreline of Onset Bay. Water has always been my concern and interest. I know all types of water need some monitoring. We have fresh water from lakes, ponds, streams. We have the ocean, the salt water from the ocean, and we have the rainwater, and we also have the wastewater. I have retired, so I have ample time to spend with the Clean Water Committee, and I am looking forward to working with them to achieve their commitment to keep all the water in and around Wareham clean for ourselves and for our future generations.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the board?
No, sir.
I have no questions.
Mr. Chair, I don't have any questions, but just for the record, we have the same letter for Ms. Jones as we do for Mr. Hempel in the file from the chairman.
When you came up, I knew you looked familiar, and I remember when I looked at your resume, the police department. So, thank you. She volunteers there also. So,
I get around.
thank you very much, Mr. George Hempel.
George Hempel, 3 Pinewood Road in Onset. I've been part-time and full-time in Wareham or Onset for about 34 years. I am now full-time for about 7 years. I'm an engineer by trade. I was with Tyco International for many years. I'm very interested in the pollution problems with the bay and the rivers, so I would like to get involved. And I want to better understand the problems that are causing the pollution and work with this committee, which I find extremely knowledgeable and so forth. I've attended 3 of the meetings and also the visit to the sewer plant, and also this past Saturday we went to the Buzzards Bay Coalition and listened to all the speakers, and it was very interesting. There's a lot of information to absorb. While I was in Hanson, I was involved with a dam project. We totally rebuilt a dam that was between Hanson and Hanover, and it was the Hanover and Hanson Conservation Commission that worked with landers. We got together with a lot of the small construction companies, totally rebuilt this 300-foot dam. The state came in with a price of $500,000 to $1 million. We finally did the whole job for $85,000. That was back in about 21 years ago, 22 years ago. So we were able to save quite a bit of money. That's basically it.
Any questions from the board? No question? Thank you very much, Mr.
Oh,
Hempel.
can I?
Oh,
You are a U.S. citizen, correct?
Pardon?
U.S. citizen?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll do these as we
Mr. Chair,
go to, yes,
do you want me to make the motions for appointment
Yes.
as we go through the committees?
yes, that would
Okay.
be fine.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to appoint Janet Jones to the Clean Water Committee for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2013.
Motion made,
Second.
motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 400.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to appoint Mr. George Hempel?
Hempel.
Yes. To the Clean Water Committee for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2014.
Motion made,
Second.
motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 400.
Mr. Chair, just give me 1 minute to get out the next file folder, please. Mr. Chair, Council on Aging. We have
It
an
seems like I'm missing mines, but go ahead,
Okay. Just bear with me because I wasn't expecting to be doing this. We have a one applicant, Kathleen Moore-Minkle, who we interviewed back in, quite some time ago. So this is just a matter of making the appointment. We do have an email. Oh, back in March we interviewed her. We do have a letter here from the chairwoman of the Council on Aging, Martha Strahan. Did I say that right? Which reads, Dear Walter Cruz, the COA Board approved recommending Kathleen Moore Minkle as an associate member at its September board meeting. Kindly include this on your September 20th Board of Selectmen agenda. Kathleen has attended 4 Council on Aging meetings. She would be an excellent addition to our board. Thank you. So I would make a motion to appoint Kathleen Moore Minkle to the Wareham Council on Aging for a term to expire as an associate member to the Council on Aging for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2012.
Motion made.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Is Kathleen here this evening or no? Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have the Library Board of Trustees. Mr. Chair, are we going to make appointments to the Library Board tonight, or?
I think we have 4 openings, and I think we only have 2.
We have 3 openings and 2 we had 3 applicants, but 1 did withdraw.
Right.
So now we have 2 applicants.
I think we'll continue.
Yes.
Yes.
Are we just going to do the interviews, or are we going to?
We'll do the whole thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have an application from Liz McDonald. Liz, are you here tonight? Do you want to come up?
State your name for the public and
Liz McDonald.
why you want to be on the Board of Trustees, or if you want to give a rundown, it's up to you.
I'm interested. I've been on another board for just over a year now and have balanced the time schedule. My daughter's getting older, and instead of just going to check out a book at the library, she's more involved in the classes and the programs, and I would like to be a part of helping facilitate that.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
don't have any. Thank you. Is Megan's?
Megan Singleton? Oh, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, you're right, we do have 4.
We do? Okay. State your name and
My name is Megan Singleton. I'm interested in being on the board. I want to get more children's programs. I have a 4-year-old daughter and would like to build the library for, generations to come, get the kids really interested in reading and just get the programs up to par, and that's about it. Just so the kids have somewhere to go.
okay. Any questions from the board? Any questions?
Are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Not there anymore? Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to appoint Liz McDonald to the Library Board of Trustees.
Excuse me, I thought you said we had more. Oh, that's it?
That's it. We had 3, but 1 withdrew.
Right, okay, thank you. Sorry.
The only thing is that, and I'm guessing that Mr. Holmes knew this, was the terms. The expiration dates are not filled out, so there's 2 terms that expire in 2013. So I'm guessing that those are the terms we're going to fill with these 2 applicants. So I'll make a motion. We're not going to be able to sign, just so the ladies know, if these motions are successful, we're not going to be able to sign your documents tonight. They'll have to be retyped for next week, unless I can hand fill in the term.
Okay, why don't you do that?
Okay.
Usually it's for 3 years, so
Um,
unless there was.
Yeah, they're filling terms. I make a motion to appoint Liz McDonald to the Library Board of Trustees to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2013.
Motion made. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 3-1-0.
Yes. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to appoint Megan Singleton to the Wareham Library Board of Trustees to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2013.
Motion made. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 4-0-0.
Okay. Mr. Chair, we have the Board of Health. We have 2 openings for full membership. And due to resignations, I believe that we have 2 associate members who applied for the full membership. We also had several applications from our last go-round, and we did have 1 applicant withdraw today. So I will make a motion to appoint the 2 associate members, Mr. Brady, Bob Brady.
Excuse me, we only have one appointment for right now. 2, we have 2, but one of them has to be a physician.
No?
Am I corrected on that?
No, excuse me, Mr. Cruz, but I believe with Mass General Law that's for cities, not for towns. That's my understanding.
I've gotten several calls about this, and I did look it up, and I'm no expert, but it suggests and encourages us to have a physician, but I could not find a requirement for it.
Unless otherwise provided in the city charter, 1 member shall be a physician. So, but this is, well, until we get that squared away, we always had a physician on board. So, if we put 2 in now, we'll have, or just 1 in, we'll still have enough to have a full board meeting. So,
Okay. Well,
Mr. Town Administrator, will you check that out with the attorney? Just because what I'm looking at here is the same thing that the Board of Health is always going by, and they bring it up all the time. So I want to make sure we're right. As long as I've been in Wareham, we've always had a doctor on the Board of Health.
Mr. Chair, we don't have any applications from any doctors, though.
No, we don't. That's what I'm saying. We'll only have 1 appointment for right now until we put it out in the public that we do need a physician to apply for the Board of Health if there's any out there that's interested.
Okay. So
is there any on the list that we haven't interviewed? Because I'm looking at the list. It looks like we interviewed most of them. Yes.
Mr. Chair, the same document that you're looking at on 2-1, I think, it talks about election or appointment, and it says about a Board of Health is a statutory board. Whether elected or appointed, its duties and authority are the same. In cities, the 3-member Board of Health is appointed by the mayor, subject to confirmation by the Board of Aldermen, et cetera, and 1 member shall be a physician. But the next paragraph states, in towns, the board is usually elected, although many towns by charter provide for an appointed board. The Board of Selectmen acts as the Board of Health where the town has not provided for the establishment of the board. The Boards of Health shall consist of 3 or more members for the term of 1 or more years, in any case where 3 or more members are to be elected. So I don't believe believe that a physician is necessary on a town's Board of Health, but I'll certainly, if you'd rather check it
Yeah,
out.
I think I would rather, for as long as I've been in the town of Wareham, I think we had a long, in fact, there's been 2 Gleasons on it. As long as I can remember, we had one Gleason for 30 years probably, and then we had another one. There's always been a physician on board. So until we get clarification on that, we'll just wait, and we'll do the one board member right now. If we have interviewed everyone on here, if everyone will look at make sure we interviewed everyone.
Mr. Chairman, I will check on that matter and get back to you in the morning.
Okay, thank you. In the meantime, we have the one open that we're going to make a nomination and vote on tonight. We have, would you go through the names so the public will know?
Well, Mr. Chair, we do have the 2 associate members, although they were both appointed on the same date. So normally in the past, we've always had an associate member move into a full member, so I'm not sure. I mean, I guess I'll just do it alphabetically, or...
Well, just
There's
name
nobody-
everyone on the board, and then we can make a motion.
Well, we have Robert Brady and Frank DeFelice. Those are the associate members. They were both appointed back on the same date in August. We have applications from... Well, now here's another question I have. We have had several applications, and they were all sent letters that said back in August that they hadn't been the successful applicant, but there's nothing in this letter that said their application was going to remain on file. So, I mean, we know that a couple of them have re-expressed interest, but we have an application from Joan Holmes, dated November 10th, 2010, Joseph Mulkern, dated February 16th, 2011, Glenn Montero, dated August 24th, 2009, Patricia McGarry, dated March 22nd, 2011. We have one withdrawal. And the requests from Mr. Brady and Mr. DeFelice.
Thank you very much. Now, what is the board's pleasure? Want to make a motion, or you want to go down each one and we'll...
Well, my preference would be for us to look at the associate members first, because those are the people who've been sitting on the board and who have always in the past moved up into the full membership seats when they're interested. And we do have emails from each of them.
Okay, you state your case, so...
Yes. So I make a motion to appoint Robert Brady and to a full membership on the Board of Health to a term to expire no later than June of 2013. There's actually 2 spots. Says
Motion made. There's no second. Want to move on?
I make a motion to appoint Frank DeFelice to a full-term membership on the Board of Health to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2013.
Motion made. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
2-2. Move on.
I make a motion to appoint Joan Holmes to a full board membership for a term to expire no later than 2013, June 30th, 2013.
Motion made. Move on.
I make a motion to appoint Joseph Mulkern to a term to a full membership on the Board of Health for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2013.
Second.
Motion made. Motion second. All in favor? All opposed?
No.
No. 2-2. Did you say yes? Yeah. 2-2, move on.
I make a motion to appoint Glenn Montero to a full membership on the Board of Health for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2013.
Motion made. Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
3-1. So Glenn Montero is appointed for that vacant position. Thank you. Zoning Board of Appeals.
Mr. Chair, we have one applicant to the Zoning Board of Appeals, a Mr. Michael Johnson. I do not believe that we have interviewed him yesterday. Is Michael Johnson here? We did get an email from Ken Ferreira, who is the chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Ferreira did recommend the applicant, but it does not say that the Zoning Board of Appeals, so it's another chairman recommendation, it looks like to me. So just take one of these and pass it down.
You want to state your name and
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Michael Johnson. I'm a U.S. citizen. I live at 723 Main Street in Wareham for the past 15 years. I'm currently employed for a company called Tower Resource Management. In the daytime, I'm out finding cell sites for various carriers throughout New England. Pretty much, I'll be leasing sites, reviewing zoning bylaws in the day. Many nights a week, I'm in front of boards like yourself, doing zoning hearings, presentations. I've probably been in front of every zoning board in the Commonwealth over the past 5-6 years. Basically, I like to seek appointment for the Zoning Board of Appeals. I think, I bring a lot of experience to the board, and I'm more than happy to help out my community. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
okay, any question from the board?
Yes, Mr. Cruz. Hi, Mr. Johnson. Thanks for applying. Thanks for being interested in being a volunteer. Do you currently do any business in Wareham? Do you go before our own zoning board?
It's been quite a while. I think the last time had to be about 5-6 years ago. We were working on a project with T-Mobile. Did some antennas in the cupola of Town Hall.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, it was quite a while, but not recently. I haven't been in front of the Wareham Board of Appeals.
So you don't anticipate anything?
No, right now there's a merger going on. Our main client's T-Mobile. There's a big merger going on where AT&T is trying to take them over, so we're kind of slow right now. They don't anticipate building anything anywhere for the rest of the year, and probably most of next year until they sort that out with the government.
I understand. I think that should this board entertain your appointment as an associate member, you may have to file some sort of disclosure with the town, but that's just my opinion. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't have any questions.
Since there aren't any, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to appoint Michael Johnson as an associate member to the Zoning Board of Appeals to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2012.
Motion made. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 4-0-0.
Mr. Chair, that would conclude the interviews and appointments for boards and committees this evening.
Thank you very much.
We have an application for a change of location of Cape Cod Choppers and Custom Bikes from 13 Garage Street to 2554 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, under the provisions of Chapter 140 of the Massachusetts General Laws.
How you doing?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Lawrence Winokur, and I'm here in substitution for Attorney Richard Serkey, representing the applicant and Mr. Leonard. And
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, do I have to make a motion to open the public hearing?
I don't believe this is a public hearing.
All right. Just to be
If-
sure. Just wanted to be sure.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
This is it's actually a
Mr. Chairman.
change.
Wait, excuse me. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, I do believe it is a public hearing. We have a legal notice of a public hearing printed in the
perhaps you
newspaper.
could read the public notice into the record.
Okay. We have go ahead, we'll be covered. You want to make a motion?
To make a motion
Yeah.
that we open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's now open. Go ahead.
I represent the petition of Cape Cod Choppers and Custom Bikes Incorporated regarding the transfer of its existing Class II license from 13 Garage Street to a new facility at 2554 Cranberry Highway, a commercially zoned site. I'm sure you're all familiar with it, next to the Water District building, and I think it looks to me like a very nice building. With me tonight is Charlie Rowley, whom you all know, and that is a rendering of the building. As you know, the Makepeace Company has been making preparations for the development to be known as Rosebrook Place, near the intersection of routes 28 and 195. And in anticipation of that development, it entered into an agreement to purchase the applicant's property at 13 Garage Street and to construct a new facility at the site I just described, subject to securing a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. That permit was granted last December, and the new facility is well along in the construction phase. A curb cut permit has been issued by Mass Highway, and under Chapter 140, you are, or the applicant is required to seek your approval of a transfer from one site to another for a Class II license. There will be no change of ownership or management of the business, operated by Mr. Leonard, who's been there for several years. In the interest of brevity, Mr. Rowley is here with that rendering and would be happy to go through it with you if you wish, or if you want him to go through the site plan. But if you have no questions or concerns, then perhaps I'll leave it at that. If there are any, we'll be happy to continue with that portion of our presentation.
Okay, Mr. Rowley, go ahead. It's up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just briefly give you a summary of what we went through when we developed the site plan a number of months ago, just so that you have an idea as to what's taken place to date. The rendering which you see to my right and to your left is an architectural rendering of the site that shows you a little bit about what it will look like when the building is fully completed. And on the back of that is an actual site plan, and I think perhaps I'll just turn to that and just take you through the series of steps that we engaged in order to get the plan ultimately approved through the Board of Appeals. There were several things that needed to be done. Do I need to have this microphone? There were several things that needed to be done in order to get the approval. The first was to develop a site plan that showed the location of the proposed building, the grading on the site, the location of the septic system, the parking and the location of the entrance where you would enter the site off of Cranberry Highway, the stormwater management together with the system that is to be developed and put into the ground. We went through a notice of intent with the Conservation Commission and got their approval on the project, which included the construction of a short retaining wall, which is in the upper right-hand portion of the site. That wall was built in order to retain the soil and also to provide the minimum 50-foot setback, which the Conservation Commission requires. We went through the process of designing the septic system that has been installed. was approved by the Board of Health prior to the installation, obviously, with the plan, and the installation itself was approved. The as-built plan has been submitted to the board. The location of the building was cited, put on a plan that was submitted to the building department for the location. The foundation's been certified as being on the lot where it shows on the plan. The stormwater system has not been installed yet. It's one of the last things to go in place, and it will be to the rear of the building. All of the stormwater will be collected on-site, collected into 2 catch basins, which then go into a filtering trench down into a basin where most of the stormwater will infiltrate into the ground. In the heaviest storms, it will build up in that basin and then be transferred to subsurface disposal that's been designed into the system. The bays that are in the garage have floor drains, and the floor drains are tied to a separate double-walled tank on the outside of the building so that there is no hazardous material such as oil or grease that will go into the groundwater. It's self-contained with an alarm system, and occasionally would have to be pumped out once it reaches a certain level. As Mr. Winokur has indicated, we applied for and obtained the entrance permit from Mass Highway. That permit was obtained a number of weeks ago, and we're all ready to actually get that installed once the site is prepared for final paving. The slopes will be loamed and seeded or covered with stone chips. On the side that's closest to the fire district building, that has already been done. The material which was brought on site is good, well-drained material, and in spite of the many heavy storms that we've had since that material was placed, there's been very little to no erosion on that site. So we're very pleased with the way it's begun. That's generally an overall view of the site. The number of parking spaces that are shown on the site is a combination for automobiles and for motorcycles, with the parking for the motorcycles being a concrete slab rather than asphalt, so that there will be no chance for the motorcycles to, because of the way that they have a stand, to forcing themselves through the asphalt and then flipping over or turning over on the pavement. That's a separated area from the regular area that would be used for employee parking or for other business use. That is pretty much it, except for the landscaping, which is also shown on the site. There will be substantial landscaping, which was approved under the site plan review that was approved under the special permit by the Board of Appeals. And as soon as that is ready for installation, it will be installed. I can't give a date on that because it's not ready for it yet. It may be the spring before that's done. But that's generally what we have accomplished to date, and everything has been successful so far. So the applicant is looking forward to the transfer of the license and getting forward to do his business.
Chris Irati here? Chris is here from Makepeace if there's any question from them, but
No, I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
I just wanted to introduce him in case you had any questions.
Just to clarify one thing Mr. Rowley just said, the anticipated completion date is November of this year. We should have everything complete, including landscaping, by the middle of November.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, what are the types of services that are going to be offered at this facility? The name, I love the name, you know, so I'm just curious.
Cape Cod Choppers has been in business for over 40 years, it's my understanding, in the town of Wareham. They do some building. They offer services in terms of products and so forth that are associated with the motorcycle industry that they sell, also send out via UPS and so forth. They also invite customers to come in to purchase products from them.
Primarily parts and service.
Okay.
The license is there primarily in case a sale is made. It's not a primary focus of the business, but service and parts are the two primary parts of the business.
Okay, great. Any other questions?
Any questions from the board, public, any pros or cons?
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Okay. Sorry you didn't hear me, but going to the public, forgot to turn the mic on, Mr. Barrows. Okay, is any pro and cons, and Mr. Barrows shows his support for it? Are there any other? If there isn't, motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
400. Thank you very much. Now,
That was a motion on closing
To
the
close.
hearing.
now
or
we're going to
approval.
make a motion.
Oh.
Right. Thank you.
That's what I was just about to do. You're getting a little ahead of me. I'm struggling with a cold here. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the change of location for the Class 2 license for Cape Cod Choppers and Custom Bikes, Inc., from 13 Garage Street to 2554 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, under the provisions of Chapter 140 of the Massachusetts General Laws.
Second.
Motion made, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 400.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank you for keeping your business in Wareham.
This was, just so everyone knows, this relocation was part of the Rosebrook development.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The building looks great, by the way. I drove by there today. Mr. Chair, next we have an application for a common victuals, I'm not going to be able to say it with a cold, license
Vic is good enough.
from Adrian Loss, doing business as the Fresh Food Cafe. Thank you.
It's pronounced Ariadne.
Say it again louder.
Ariadne.
Okay. Thank you.
You can just call me Ari.
Thank you.
Hi.
Go ahead.
My name is Ari Loss, and I'm looking to get a license for the common victuality. I just bought the business from a previous owner, and I'm just hoping to keep the business the same. I think she was doing just mostly sandwiches at lunchtime, but I just want to open a little earlier for breakfast and lunch, takeout.
Any questions from the board?
I just have one question. This is the shop, and I can't remember the name of what it was last, but as you first take...
Melina's.
Yes.
Yes,
That's the one I'm
that's the
thinking
one.
of. Yes. So while you're in front of us, this is your chance to tell the public all about how wonderful you are and how great your new location is going to be.
I really like the location. It's really right. It's very central, so I really
Yes.
like that.
And the food is going to be fantastic.
Oh,
right?
I'm gonna keep the same menu that she was doing: soup, salads, and sandwiches.
Okay.
So I just want to implant breakfast into that.
Okay. And this is at 1 West Central Street
Yes.
for the viewing audience.
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Just one question. Is this your first attempt at...
Yes, this is
it
my first one. I've worked for restaurants before, so now I want to do something of my own.
I understand.
Mr. Begley?
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Pardon me. We both have colds. So has this place closed yet?
No, it's not closed. I just got it from the last owner. It closed for the days of the transfer of ownership, but I have to, get a license before I reopen it.
Okay, so right now it's
closed.
It's closed.
Oh.
Okay, so once you get the license, then you'll
Yes.
reopen. And
Mhm.
the hours that you want are 6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah, pretty much. So for coffee shop,
And how many days a week?
7.
Really?
Well, right now.
Bless you.
7. Well, we need coffee every day, right?
Any other questions from the board? If there isn't any other, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the application for common vic license from Ari Loss, doing business as the Fresh Food Cafe, 1 West Central Ave, Onset, Mass., under the provisions of Chapter 140 of the Massachusetts General Laws for the year 2011.
Motion made?
Second.
Motion made?
Second.
Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 400.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, we have An application for a one-day all-alcoholic beverages license permit by Box 5 Association, care of Jonathan Gordon. And we have Rachel Gillette.
I am Rachel Gillette. I'm here as a representative from Box 5. John Gordon is on duty this evening, so they sent me instead.
Thank you, Mrs. Gillette. Can you tell us a little bit about?
Yep, this is for the third annual golf tournament for the Box 5 Association. It's at Bay Point. In the past, we've had it at Bay Point, and they had the liquor license, so it was all set. Due to the circumstances up there, this year we're in need of hiring out to an agency, and I think you have the name of it. It's the Bartending Service of New England. They hold all the liabilities, all the insurances, and we need it for that day, so we can have a successful tournament.
Any questions from the board?
I do.
This is a good night tonight.
Just one question. Are you selling tickets for this event? I mean, this is your chance.
There are, people can sign up to be like golf teams. They can give the station a call. We'll make sure they they call Onset Fire. We can get the number to a representative, and we'll get the information to them. So if somebody wants to get out there with a team and golf, absolutely, the more the merrier.
You don't want to see me golf?
Yeah, no, I'm not doing it. It's not going to happen. Windows will be lost.
Mr. Chairman, I'm looking at the application, and I just want to make sure that we have the correct applicant for the license. And I'm not sure if I understand that it's Box 5 Association, but you're hiring someone?
Yes.
So they'd be the responsible?
Yep.
I'm not sure, and I just want to, we had some confusion about that in the past, so.
I was told it was the Bartending Service of New England, which is a licensed and insured, so they carry all the liability licenses and things.
Mr. Chair, for some reason, the all-alcoholic beverages has to be held by the applicant, has to be applied for by the applicant. It's only the beer and wine that New England Bartending can hold the, I don't know why that is, but it would seem to me it should be the opposite.
Thank you very much for the update. Do I hear a motion?
Oh, did everybody go through? Yes. Wow, they're quick tonight. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the application for a one-day all-alcoholic beverages license permit by Box 5 Association, care of Jonathan Gordon, P.O. Box 5, onset for an association fundraiser to be held at the Pavilion at the Bay Point Country Club, 10 Bay Point Drive, onset on October 1st, 2011, from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. under the provisions of Chapter 138 of the Massachusetts General Laws.
Motion made.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 4-0-0. Thank you very much.
Rachel, if you email the office, we can make sure that gets on the announcements for next week, too. Okay? Thanks.
Town Administrator's report.
Mr. Chairman, through you to the board and the listening audience this evening, I want to give a leadership team update at this time. You should have a letter of appointment for Mr. Gary Miser, who is my appointment for Assistant Director of Assessment, working closely with Elsa Miller and the entire assessors in his credentials as an assessor and field assessor for both commercial and residential properties. Mr. Miser brings a great deal of wealth and experience to this position. I wanted to give the board an update with regard to that. I am also conducting the final interviews for the town accountant, which is happening this week, and checking some background information on appointment for a local building inspector, which I will bring forward very shortly. The second item, Mr. Chairman, if I could, we all enjoyed, it was a very warm afternoon, but a very cool evening for Remembrance, 2011. We will never forget. On Sunday, September 11th, we all participated in this, the procession and ceremonies that were just moving across the board. I just wanted to let folks know that I was very happy to work with the committee and also work on having Rear Admiral Richard Gurnan, who was our keynote address, Mr. Gurnan, who gave the keynote address at that evening, and once again, just a moving ceremony on the 10th anniversary of 9/11. Mr. Chairman, last Thursday we held We waited till after the summer months were over. An open meeting law and conflict of interest seminar by Attorney Richard Bowen, and this was held on Thursday, September 15th. In your packet, you have the background material, the PowerPoint material, and some. This office staff did a great job, Shirley and Janet, putting together the material that backed up the meeting. You also have the attendance sheet. Close to 40 people attended this event. It's incumbent upon us all to make certain that we have in our possession the most updated instruments for meeting the open meeting law requirements. And it's a nice segue, if I could. We will have a second follow-up because we weren't able to. The seminar went, as many of you were there, well over 2 hours, to have a second seminar on further identifying the State Ethics Commission requirements for all of the boards, commission, and committees, staff, this board, with respect to the state ethics statutes, and a test that's required, working closely with Mary Ann Silver, town clerk. We got pretty much through most of it, but we will have a follow-up session with more emphasis on conflict of interest laws and bringing, once again, more material forward. Item D, if you're in your possession in front of you, you should have our insurance company rewards program, which is a risk analysis toolkit. And you might note the synergy between the item preceding with regard to the open meeting law. We get additional credit for our insurance payments with regards to the first question on the toolkit. Just real quick, does the entity conduct ongoing ethics, conflict of interest, public record, and open meeting law training? And if so, list the dates of the last training at which the departments attended. So that first box will be checked off tomorrow morning as the leadership team for our town conducts its risk analysis using this toolkit. I might also add, Mr. Chairman, at the request, we had representatives from the Wareham and Onset fire districts and water districts that participated in this event. So we're well on our way to conducting this yearly analysis that will help us on our insurance rates going forward. I also wanted to let you and the general public know, Mr. Chairman, that we did finish up last Thursday. All of the crosswalks in the town were finally done. We're able to get those done with the fine work of our municipal maintenance department and working to ensure public safety. I got a number of calls on the crosswalks that were recently painted, and hopefully will provide a higher level of safety for the general public. Ongoing projects, we are working on, once again, the crosswalks for the Deacon's School were done back in the summertime, and working with you, Mr. Chairman, and the school board with regards to cooperation. Together, we will work together as one unit. It's an ongoing process, as we know. I'm happy to answer any questions that the board might have, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions from the board?
Yes, sir. Mr. Andrews, through you, Mr. Chair. My question is this. We're doing the ethics training and the open meeting law, which are awesome. But I've had a lot of questions from people who may or may not have experience on boards, and there seems to be some misconception maybe of parliamentary procedure and making motions, seconding them, having a clear demonstration of the vote by various committees. And I wonder if it would be possible to have perhaps a seminar on parliamentary procedure.
Very well put, Mr. Chairman, through you to Selectwoman Begley. I have noticed a wide variance of understanding of Robert's rules and understanding of some of the parliamentary procedure that ultimately wind up in the minutes and records of the town. And so I will work, if it's okay, Mr. Chairman, through you, with Selectwoman Begley on this, because that's an ongoing process, because we take for granted, I think, in many cases, that the appointments you just made this evening understand all of the tenets and rules and regulations that go with a public meeting, opening it up, being able to get the business done, and I'm happy to work with you on that.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, you want to continue on?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, next on the agenda we have a discussion with Mr. Alan Slavin regarding the intern program. Is Mr. Slavin here?
Good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Okay, just waiting to hear. I came before you a few weeks ago to ask about the intern program which we had put together back approximately 3 years ago, and the reason I wanted to come before the board was nobody on this current board was involved with that original decision to put it together and how it worked. The system has run for 2 full years, actually 2.5 years now. We've got interns from many different areas through the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, and different places. The procedure has been basically that the town administrator asks the department heads for where they have needs. The jobs that are basically described, but then is basically placed in the school placement system, which is online. The students come in, they look at it, then they apply to the town. The email comes in, then we basically move them and actually interview with the particular department head and the town administrator, then the decision is made. The program, depending whether it's a federal work study program, that program there, the students are allowed to basically get so many hours of work versus a dollar amount. Normally a semester dollar amount is $1,000, and they get that, so a total of $2,000 for the year. So if you were to take $1,000, the average hourly salary that we set is usually in the low $8 range. If they've been with us for 2 or 3 years, you might get up to $9 to $10. So you're looking at an average of, turn your hearing aid up, please. You basically end up with approximately, I'm going to say an average 120 to 130 hours worth of service. The town on the federal work study program, because it's a municipality, only gets charged 10% of the $1,000. So the town's cost for that total amount of work is $100. If they're in a Connect program, the Connect program is basically 50 hours of work to the town at no cost to the town at all. The third program is usually through the poli-sci department, and sometimes one of the other departments might have it where a student is required to basically do 1 semester of public service, and it's normally in a municipality. So we've had three of those students come in, and they're required to work 140 hours in order to get their 3 credits a class. And that's the way the program has worked up until this point here. But it's been, like I say, it's almost 3 years, and I thought it was a good time to come back and see if we want to continue the program and how it works, and if you want to make any changes, etc.
Questions from the board? Mrs. Winslow?
No, you can start over there.
Mr. Smatter?
Alan, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, through you to Mr. Slavin. Who do these interns report to? The department heads?
They report to the department head itself. The only thing that I do at all is I basically interact with the school sometimes if there's any question. But the student, basically, what they do is they have, we try and keep it as simple as possible, keep the cost of the town at a minimum, and also the time. What it is a simple form that's basically provided to the town, and all you do is log in the hours, and at the end of the week you basically email or fax over the hours of the student, and it's all taken care of internally by the school. The town has no responsibility for payroll records or anything. It's all handled by the school. At the end of the full semester, when they're done, this town will normally write them a check for $100, and that's it. It's about, we try to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah. We don't want any labor for $100.
No, I didn't think so. Unfortunately, though, we...
It sounds like a really good program.
Well, it's a simple program, and
right.
We also, now that UMass, we already have the Suffolk program, the town administrator basically takes care of for us. But now, of course, UMass has their own law school, and now that it's fully certified up and running, they also come into the same program. Last year, they did not qualify for federal study work. They do now.
How do we, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, through you, how do we determine what departments or what areas they're going to work in?
Basically, the students look at the actual job description. They'll come in and they'll apply, and they'll say, I'd like to apply for job number, because they actually assign a number. And then what happens is usually what I'll do is, I had a fairly good experience through Northeastern through the co-op program, and I'll ask them questions to make sure that's what their major is and that's what they want to do. And then we'll try and basically assign them to the job that they want to do, and then it's up to the department head, and the department head may say it doesn't work, and maybe there's something else available. We've had, the max we've had, I think, has been 8 students during one semester. As an example, the police department's had 2 interns for a full year now.
Great. And do they go, and maybe the town administrator is the person to answer this question, Mr. Chairman, do they go through the same process when they're hired, the same kind of background?
They have to do a Corey check on
Yes,
all that stuff.
you are correct. Mr. Chairman, through you to Selectman Snyder, you are correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't bypass any of the town procedures at all. All it is it's a little different system how we get them. But Bridgewater State University, I had a meeting today with an economic regional group in Bridgewater State University. As there's a new program coming in with the 5 universities in Southeast Mass through their Connect program, and they are going to have what they call a single portal for interns for all their schools. So basically, the town of Wareham could just make their application to be looking for interns from one source now. And I'm hoping within 6 months this will be available to the town. It's just a simple procedure of going in, posting a job opening for an intern, and you've got 6 schools to draw from.
Great. And have you had any applicants or that have it's not worked out?
Yes. I know one in particular, the girl thought that she didn't really have to come to work, just had to show up once in a great while. It lasted about 2 weeks, and we basically gave a couple warnings through the department head, and that was it. And it really looks bad for the school, because the school gets quite upset because it's their image, because it's their students. So they don't take kindly to the students not doing what they're supposed to do.
Very good. Thank you, Alan.
Mrs. Begley?
Almost 3 years, Alan? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's Bruce Savageau, I believe, was chairman when we first talked about it. I think
Yeah,
he said, asked me, why don't you do this? And I said, fine.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Now, to clarify, do the department heads express an interest, or are you approaching the department heads and asking them?
No, initially, I basically approached the department heads and the town administrator. At that time was John Sanguinet.
Yes.
And John really was not as involved as Mark would be now. What we do now at this point is the jobs really come through Mark asking, I believe that the town departments has been right along, if you have an opening, what type of job you're looking for. So it should be vetted from that side before it gets to me. And all I do is take that and just basically input it into the school system.
Okay, now I appreciate your explanation about how they're paid, or which is ridiculously low. But I've heard some committees that have expressed an interest in paying them a stipend.
That would be outside of this program. Your federal work-study program is community service, and it's a locked-in system through the schools, through the federal government. You can get students that apply for intern work. If a particular committee or a board or commission has dollars available and they want to hire someone, that's a whole separate program. It's not part of the school program.
So that's not part of your program. If they choose to pay someone a stipend, it's outside of the scope of what you see the internship program.
Correct. All it is if someone comes in and makes an application and wants to come work. We've had a couple of people actually come to the town and actually say, I'd like to work for free. It does happen. Not very often.
Like us.
Yeah, well, like all of us. We all get a high salary here. I think it's a half a cent every 12 years. But you will get sometimes where we have situations where we have a very large concentration of engineers. Unfortunately, they're all from India, not locally. They're graduate students, and they have fantastic qualifications to help the town. The problem is that being a non-national, they can't qualify for these federal programs. And I know I've tried a couple times to work some way we could work something out, because Matt could have used them, and they could probably do a job that we'd probably have to hire someone, I'm going to say $1,500 a week easily to pay for, that they could do the job, because the training in India on ITS and stuff in particular is really spectacular if you look at their resumes. So that's an area where somewhere down the line, hopefully something will change. But right now,
so this would
it's
give
not.
them practical experience.
Well, that's the whole reason for this. The idea
Absolutely.
is that when we talk to them about it, the idea is that you actually have something on a resume. You have a leg up on your competitor. And if you're interested, we went to Harvard and we weren't able to make it work, but we were invited to Harvard University through Dick Paulson's initiative this past year. And we did have 6 students express interest in working in a municipality, but we just weren't able to put it all together in time. And normally those programs, through MIT in particular, it's usually $2,500 a semester we have to pay. This program through Harvard, we had 2 students in particular that were willing to come and work, as I said, for free. We just couldn't get a program together that would give them class credits, because these kids are not your average student, because that's the Kennedy School. So I'm hoping we can get back there again, because that's a golden opportunity if we can find them. They could do master plan work for us, all these things.
Any other questions from the board? I know as long as I've been on it, I've seen it work, and it's amazing what they've been doing. So when I was at the library, they had a fellow in the library, and
we had a girl
talked to him for a while. And
yeah,
I was amazed at the
we've
work
had
they were doing.
two or three people at the library. We actually have. It's not an intern program. I've been working with the university, the history department, like Yale, Professor Mohanty, and we did it originally with the Historical Society. That's how this all came about. Basically what happened was I went to the school and asked for some help. I figured the worst thing they could do is say no, and they hooked me up with a particular professor, and she said, this is great. And we're going to have somewhere between, I'm going to say 10 to 15 students coming in sometime in October. It's already been arranged with Denise and stuff, and they are going to be doing work for the town in the library for a part of their project for their school credit. It's actually going to be a course and stuff, and they've already done one course like this where they actually teach a course based on what they've studied. And we have another project coming probably in the spring with them again as well. So these are things where you just, it's easy because there's no cost and it's all help and it's all agreed to by, the town.
Mr. Town Administrator?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Fine work, Alan. And the interesting thing about this is that it's about the match, so that we try to find a demonstrated need in a department. It does take some investment. It's not something where somebody's just going to come in and know everything about the assessing department or about the planning office. So, I think the important part is trying to find that match and getting some creditable, really life experience in public service in that environment. So, and we've been very successful because I know this body heard some presentations on strategic planning and strategic thinking, particularly during the budget process last year that helped us. And so I think it's a valuable service to the town, and I compliment you for your fine work.
Well, we have, just so everybody understands, we have at 2:30 tomorrow, we have our first student for UMass for this coming semester because we weren't able to participate in their normal open house because I didn't want to go and do anything until the board said it was okay to keep moving along. But she's coming in at 2:30 and she wants to work in the GIS program. I believe she's probably a first or second year student, and hopefully she'll work out like the police student that we had, where we can get 2 or 3 years so they can build up. And Matt has a real need for GIS through the assessor's office and his own programs. So we'll see how it works tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Do we need to do anything as a board?
I just want you to basically authorize us to continue it, so if someone says something, I don't represent myself as the town of Wareham when I do this. Everything, well, I don't, obviously. And basically everything goes through, it goes to the town administrator. He's on the paperwork that's signed. But I just want to make sure we want to continue the way it's been set up and everything is okay to continue as we have been.
Mr. Chairman, through you to Mr. Slavin, I think that I'm certainly comfortable with it, and I think that would be, certainly something that we would just confer with the town administrator on.
Yeah, I think it was a good idea. I'm all for it. So,
right. Good job,
Town
Alan.
Administrator, you can. Mr. Slavin.
Continue to work, Alan.
Okay, like I said, it's been 3 years, and I just wasn't comfortable because, as I said, every member here was never involved with it, and I just thought it was the correct way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the update. Now we'll go to item B, policy on auto recording for boards, committees, and commissions. I think I misplaced the one I had earlier. Okay. I have one. Mrs. Begley?
Yes. This is a draft policy that I'm bringing before this board, and I'll read it to the record. This is policy 11-01, digital recording. Pardon me. The purpose is to provide an electronic recording of the whole gavel-to-gavel of board, committee, and commission meetings as an aid for the preparation of minutes, and the promotion of inclusiveness, public awareness, and transparency for the citizens of Wareham. Number 1, all boards and committees hereinafter bodies shall record the entirety of the meetings. 2, recording devices and recording media will be available at the office of the Board of Selectmen during regular business hours. The chairman of the body or the body's designee shall sign in and sign out for each recording device. 3, the recording device shall be placed so as to record the voices of all body members participating in the meeting. 4, the recording may be retained by the body for the purpose of preparing minutes. Upon approval of such minutes, the recording shall be delivered to the town administrator, clearly labeled with the name of the committee or board and the date, location, and time of the recorded meeting. 5, upon receipt of the recording, the town administrator may arrange for the transfer of the recording to other electronic media for storage purposes. The town administrator may also post the recordings to the town's official website. Electronic recording includes any form of electronically recording voices, and the recording does not replace written minutes as required by the state's Public Records Law, Mass General Law, Chapter 66, Sections 3 through 9. A transcript of the recordings will not be prepared.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve as written.
Motion made. Need a second, right, for discussion. Need a second.
Second for discussion.
Motion made and second for discussion. Discussion.
Mr. Chair, yes, I have a, well, actually I have a first of all, I didn't see it till tonight, but the policy doesn't address how long any of these recordings will be stored for, who the caretaker of those recordings is going to be, if somebody were to ever ask for them. And the law states that once the official minutes are prepared and accepted, then the recordings can be recorded over. So who's going to be doing all this stuff? Who's going to be supplying all these tapes? And what are we going to do for our chairpersons who are working and who may not get out of work until 5 o'clock after town hall has closed? These are my...
Yeah, I think you have valid reasons there, but I think everything can be worked out because it does state that once the written minutes are approved, you do not need the tape. You do not need it, but you can still retain it. And I think we are working out avenues of approach to the whole situation where now we can put it on the digital recording and save it. What I like to do is have this turn over to the attorney and let him look at it and come back with a more definite thing. But I think this is good. Everybody who's been running for selectmen or on boards and committees all been talking about transparency, and this is exactly what this shows, is transparency. You have nothing to hide. You shouldn't be able to, and most of the committees already are doing their own recording without this, so there's only a few that aren't. So I think it's a good idea. We can turn it over to the attorney and look at it. A motion was made.
Well, Mr. Chair, can I just say that I do agree that this is a really good idea. I just think that we need to make sure that everybody understands how the process works, what the process is. I don't want to hear people say, well, I don't get out of work till 5 o'clock, so I can't get a recorder, or have someone say that the town can't afford to buy tapes, because once we put a policy in place, we really need to abide by our policy. I mean, I'm working on a list right now of all the policies we have that we don't abide by. And
right, I think there are quite a few policies that we have that we don't abide by.
But I'm a firm believer in if we make the rule, we need to abide by it and hold everybody to the same standard. So I would agree that I'd like the attorney to look at it, and I'd also like to see some definitive answers. So if we have a member of the public who's looking for one of these recordings, technically the town clerk would be the one that would retain it. But if it's going to be at the town administrator's office, I just would like to see everything a little bit more clear for people so that they understand. And there is a limit to how much digital media we can store also.
Mr. Cruz, if I could...
I think we had a discussion with the IT, and he explained it all to us at one of the staff meetings. And until we get it started, that's one way do you know if we're going to have any discrepancies. Right now, everything is going to go to the selectman's office. They'll pick up the tapes, the recording. And I have a thing when I was in business. It sounds like another excuse. We don't need any excuses. The tapes are there to be picked up. You have members on the board. You have a chairman on there. He can designate. If he can't pick it up, someone else can pick it up. So let's eliminate excuses and get this on the road and see what we can do on it. I think Mrs. Begley.
You pretty much summed it up for me, Mr. Cruz. Through you to Mrs. Winslow, I did speak to the town attorney and asked him, since there is no requirement for public records law to keep the recording once the hard copy minutes are approved, then he saw no reason whatsoever that the town administrator couldn't be the keeper of those digital tapes. I also attended the leadership meeting that when they had the computer virtualization system there, and directly asked if it was possible to store this media, and pretty much they said yes. So for storage purposes, there's no issue, and I spoke to Mr. Underhill, and certainly he can't do it next week. We do have town meeting coming up, but he didn't anticipate an issue with posting any of the audios on the town website.
Mr. Chair, through you, no, I'm not overly concerned about the the posting, but there's not actually infinite space. So in other words, how much space, is it 5 years of meetings, 7 years of meetings? How long can the public expect that these tapes are going to be available to them? Infinitely? A minimum amount of, I know when I used to work for a town, and we had certain committees that we did retain the tapes for litigation purposes, just in the event, and we retained those tapes for 5 years, and every 5 years we'd go in the vault and we'd clear out one of the boxes, and we didn't have digital media back then. But these are just some of the questions I have, and I want us to have a policy that's correct and that we're going to be able to abide by and enforce with everybody, because we all know that it's only a matter of time before someone comes looking for a tape, and we have a committee that didn't turn the tape in, forgot to pick up the recorder, someone didn't pick up their recorder or return it, and I just want to make sure that everybody's on notice that these are the rules, this is how it's going to work, and this is what the public can expect.
Mr. Cruz?
Well, thank you very much. Go ahead.
I agree with you. This board can absolutely determine the length of time that we retain the actual physical tape. However, on number 5, it says, upon receipt of the recording, the town administrator may arrange for the transfer of the recording to other electronic media for storage purposes, which would be the virtual computer hard drive. So once that's accomplished, those tapes can be recorded over, and they can make a copy of that recording from the hard drive. So we can certainly have Mr. Underhill in here to speak to those issues. We already have problems with meeting minutes being approved and turned into the clerk. I went looking for some meeting minutes for I can't even remember which committee it was, and there were probably 3 posted on the website, and then when I went to the town clerk, they didn't have half of them. So that's already been an issue, and that's one of the reasons why with the open meeting law seminar that we had, the ethics that's coming up, and hopefully Robert's Rules Parliamentary Procedure, it will be quite clear to people what's expected of them as volunteers on these committees. One of the things that I did find when doing research, trying to find a policy for recording, many towns do it, not many have policies, was many had a handbook for anyone that wanted to volunteer on any committee, and I think that may be something that we could do in an upcoming workshop so that everyone's kind of on the same page.
I think you make a good point. Right now, we need something to get started ASAP, and I think this is a good start. Somebody mentioned 5 years. In 5 years, maybe neither one of us will be here, and someone can change it if they want to not to keep it on the recording. But a motion was made. If there aren't any more questions on the debate.
Well, Mr. Chair.
Could I ask one question?
Yes.
Now, if you make this policy and you have the recording can you have the recording on until the meeting is all over, and then you shut it off? Or can you have it on, shut it off, and then half an hour say, bring up what you discussed? I want to know.
It's from gavel to gavel, from the
That's
time we start the meeting to the time we end.
That's all I want to
Right.
know.
And
Good question.
It
It's
hasn't been done.
Mr. Cruz, that's a great observation because I agree with you. Because I have read minutes where someone would say, can I shut the tape off? The tape is off, and then all of a sudden the tape is back on because that's reflected in the minutes. And I absolutely agree with you. That should not be tolerated.
Thank you. That's a
Mr.
good
Chair,
question.
just for clarification, are we voting on the policy as it is, or are you sending it to town council for review before we vote on the
Well,
policy?
I think we need to make clear that all boards, starting at ASAP, need to record all the meetings.
I believe that we
I
already
think
did that.
We can pass this on, give it to the lawyer, and if he comes back with any changes, then we can bring it back to the board to have a look at.
Wouldn't it, we already passed a motion that they had to start recording as of this week. Wouldn't it make more sense for us to have town council look at this week and then vote on it next week instead of enacting a policy and then having changes and having to do it again?
Well, right now I want something in writing, and this is in writing. If there aren't any more discussions, motion made, motion second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
3-1-0. So, Mr. Town Administrator, will you have the attorney look at it and make sure everything is up to date?
Yes, I will, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
This is yours.
Yep.
C.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I just want to bring the body up to date. Mr. Sullivan has put together a very nice document. I want to compliment him and also office staff that you have before you. Once again, standing policy to just have before the board a vote on town meeting warrant articles. I know it came up last week. I just want to be absolutely crystal clear. The administration is working very closely with the town moderator, town council, and we put together, with the help of all the individuals involved, a new format so that you could see clearly information that was provided or would be provided. And I know the Finance Committee, Mr. Chairman, will be taking this matter up tomorrow evening, and I know it has been protocol for the body this board, to perhaps review after the Finance Committee took an action or made a particular vote. So it's before you. We're happy to go forward at any juncture, whatever your pleasure might be. I also just want to point out for the listening audience, the guidebooks that we put together for petitioned articles have no impact on the administration. We will figure it out from a fiscal standpoint, but petitioned articles to be explained and to be provided of background information by the petitioner. And that's as clear as the policies that I know of going forward. So I'm happy to get into this evening if you'd like. If you want to wait for the Finance Committee to review it, I know they have it on their board, on their committee agenda for tomorrow evening. And just wanted to bring you up to speed with regards to the fall town meeting articles before you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. With the board's pleasure, we'll vote on them tonight. Madam Clerk, you want to go right down the line from 1 to 22?
Well, Mr. Chair, on the money articles, I would prefer to wait for the Finance Committee because they're the ones that are supposed to be looking at this and advising us.
Okay, so we'll start right, go down the line, and if it's the board's pleasure, we'll go right on down. If not, we'll vote on it as we go.
Mr. Chairman,
The Finance Committee is going to be looking for our vote also.
Well, no, usually they vote first, and then we vote after they vote.
I think they are looking for our input. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
while I Well, I'd also like to hear the recommendations of the Finance Committee with respect to the money articles. I just want to correct something. As I understand it, under the Charter, the Finance Committee advises town meeting, not the Board of Selectmen. And, you know, I may stand corrected on that, but I don't think so. And, you know, I'm happy to go through the articles, but I'm also happy to hear the Finance Committee's recommendations.
Okay, I think they have 2 meetings this this week. So let's go right down the line.
Mr. Chair, I think Mrs. Begley.
Mr. Cruz, do you think we should give, I'm just wondering if Mr. Holmes would want an opportunity to vote on these?
Well, that was my second thought, was that it gets really confusing when we go before town meeting with a 4-something vote.
Well, it's no different to have a 4-0 vote than it is a 3-2 vote or 2-3 or whatever. The vote is what we vote, but it's the people on the floor that are going to vote the articles in or out.
Well, but they're looking, I mean, we don't have, unless Mr. Andrews or Mr. Sullivan has given us some financial information. I know the FinCom had asked for a number of different pieces of financial information in relation to some of these articles. We got a copy of the stuff that they were looking for. I mean, I'm not inclined to vote in favor of a single financial article until I see some numbers.
Okay, we'll go right down the line.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just
Yes, go ahead.
add a footnote to that. These are authorizations, Member Winslow. These are authorizations for what we expect to be capital improvements that stay in line with the fiscal 2012 budget that I presented that was approved at town meeting. Many of these items were on the list or had been worked on, I should say, through that budget process. So they shouldn't be a surprise to either this board or the Finance Committee. And I know it might have got a little bit far afield at the last meeting, and I apologize for not being here, but these are items that go back into the minutes of meetings of the Finance Committee, the Capital Planning Committee, for many, many months. In fact, I'll just use one. We've been talking about buses since I've been here, which is over 1.5 years. And in the minutes of the Capital Planning Committee, going back to February of 2009, is precisely what we're looking at in this plan to get authorization. Every city and town, let's be absolutely clear, is looking to get certified free cash this fall, of which this town will do. But let me say this to you. Without the authorization at fall town meeting, we will have to have either a special meeting or go into the spring meeting with capital improvement authorizations. And let me just say this to you so that everybody's aware. This just didn't fall out of some vacuum. This is the product of many months of work with those committees. I'll stress that to the Finance Committee tomorrow night because I can go back through their minutes, which I'm happy to do, and present to them their own review of many of these items on here. Defibrillators for police cruisers, a generator for the police station, of which we found to be in not the proper condition when we went through Hurricane Irene. A parking program, which we've talked about for many years, and finally have a program together. A prisoner transport vehicle. To let you know, we are, and I am writing a letter to the governor asking him to intercede with respect to the perhaps closing of the Wareham District Court. Other vehicles that are important. An ambulance rebuild. This board is very much aware of the issues we've had with regards to licensing and keeping our ambulances on the street serving our public with regards to their health needs. And once again, as I've indicated, the buses. So these are not surprise circumstances. If anybody said that to me tonight, I would be very surprised myself, and I intend to present that way tomorrow evening. And you can vote up or down. The explanations are in place. Backup information will be forthcoming on a number of these. I know Mr. Sullivan has been working very closely with the relevant departments on this. And this is what we can afford. This is built into our debt service going forward. If the authorizations are made this fall, we will use the means that are available to us, whether it be certified free cash or some other way to get the capital items going forward. And once again, just wanted to make that reference and understanding for the board so that everybody's on the same page going forward. These were in the PowerPoint presentation, in the capital planning presentations that we did, everything except for the emergency items that I've identified for you. And I think it's wholly appropriate to go forward, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes,
may.
Mr. Smith.
Through you to Mr. Andrews. Mr. Andrews, I agree with virtually everything that you have just said. However, I do think, with Mr. Holmes being absent, I would like to approach this as being a board as a whole. And I do think that, we are going before the Finance Committee tomorrow night. Mr. Cruz and myself are liaisons to the Finance Committee. And I think that I would like to try, and I would like to actually wait, hold off, and listen to what the Finance Committee has to say. But more importantly, I would like to give Mr. Holmes the opportunity so we can try and approach this as a board. And I guess that's how I feel at this point.
And at this point here, Mr. Heat, of the chairman of the Finance Committee, is looking for us to see how we're going to vote on it. He was expecting us to vote on it today, so tomorrow when he presents it to his board, he can have a basic and a real feel for how we're going. Like you said, a lot of these we can go ahead and vote on them now. If you want to wait, we're going to be at the meeting tomorrow, God willing, and we'll go over it.
Mr. Chairman, while I appreciate what you're saying, and I appreciate Mr. Heath's comments, again, I think that it's the Finance Committee's job to advise town meeting, regardless of what the Board of Selectmen votes on these articles. They don't advise the Board of Selectmen under the Charter. They advise town meeting.
But at all town meetings, you get the vote of the
So
Finance and you get the vote of the Board of Selectmen. And like I mentioned earlier, no matter what we vote or they vote, it's the people on the floor that are going. We're only giving them guidance. So if you look at this, you can give guidance to what you think is right, because a lot of these things, like you said, is either housekeeping or self-explanatory. I don't think we need to wait on them for us to vote.
Mr. Chair, I would agree with Mr. Schneider that we should at least put this off until next Tuesday. I'm not sure why, Mr. Holmes will be back next Tuesday. The five of us will be here. I'm not sure why Mr. Heath is looking for this information. At least in the past 3 town meetings that I've done, we've always done them after the Finance Committee.
Well, I know it has to go to printing by the end of the week, so are we going to have a blank where it says Board of Selectmen, have a blank all the way? Because we're indecisive? It's the board's call. I'm saying that we go right down and vote on it.
So this has to go to the printer by the end of the week, Mr. Andrews?
We need all the information. I think they're getting ready for Friday.
Friday, yes, that's my understanding.
It has to go to the printer by Friday.
For the printers, right.
So it would be less, Mr. Cruz, I see your point, Mr. Cruz, it may be less confusing by having the vote of the selectmen as opposed to being blank.
You got 22 articles. You want to vote on 15 of them, and then let's go through it. If you want to vote on it, you vote on it. If you don't, we won't.
Article, you want me to read down them, or?
Yeah, either you or Mr. Sullivan.
Article 1, capital improvements. This article consists of $84,000 for 40 defibrillators, $40,000 for a generator, $75,000 for a parking program, $10,700 for a prisoner transport vehicle, which is 6-month payment of a 3-year lease, $9,720 for a 4-wheel drive vehicle, which is a 6-month payment of a 3-year lease. All of those items are for the police department. $150,000 to rebuild the EMS ambulance for the EMS department, and $91,000 for 7 buses, which is a 12-month payment of a 3-year lease for the school department.
Would you like to read the explanation?
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds a sum of money to fund the acquisition by purchase and/or lease of the following capital items, or to take any other action relative thereto, inserted by the Board of Selectmen at the request of the Capital Planning Committee.
I was looking for the explanation so people in the public will know. Do you want to do the explanation? There's explanations on each one of them, unless you're already all clear.
I don't know if I have, oh. The defibrillators, this item is to purchase 40 defibrillators to replace and properly equip the police department. The generator, this item is to upgrade the electrical system, purchase and install a new generator at the police department facility. The parking program, this item is to fund the implementation of an automated parking meter program in Onset Pier. The prisoner transport vehicle, this item is the fund the first 6 months of a 3-year capital lease for a new prisoner transport vehicle as required by law. The anticipated payment schedule is as follows: year 1, $21,400, year 2, $21,400, year 3, $21,400, followed by a $1 buyout at the end of year 3. A 4-wheel drive vehicle. This item is to fund the first 6 months of a 3-year capital lease for a new 4-wheel drive vehicle. The anticipated payment schedule is as follows: year 1, $19,440, year 2, $19,440, year 3, $19,440, followed by a $1 buyout at the end of year 3. The EMS ambulance rebuild is to fund the complete overhaul and rebuild of the Wareham EMS ambulance at an anticipated cost of up to $150,000. The buses, this item is to fund the first 12 months of a 3-year capital lease for 7 new school buses. The anticipated funding schedule for each lease is as follows: year 1, $13,000, year 2, $13,000, year 3, $13,000, followed by a $50,000 buyout at the end of year 3. The total anticipated funding schedule for all 7 buses combined is as follows: year 1, $91,000, year 2, $91,000, year 3, $91,000, followed by a $350,000 buyout at the end of year 3.
Thank you very much. On Article number 1.
On Article number 1, I move favorable action.
Favorable action. Motion made. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
3-1. 3-1-0.
And just for the record, we've begun moving favorable action for every article so it is not to confuse town meeting voters. Article number 2 is being withdrawn by the Wareham Free Library Board of Trustees. Article 3, distribution of local option meals tax, to see if the town will vote to petition the general court for special legislation to allocate the 0.75% local option meal excise per provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 64L, Section 2A, that was approved during the Springtown meeting 2011. Article number 18, to be used for capital items as defined by the Wareham Town Charter. For the town of Wareham and the school department, the distribution of the revenue shall be 50% to the town of Wareham and 50% to the Wareham School Department. The town treasurer shall have responsibility for receipt and distribution of said revenue. The existing Wareham Charter and bylaws for bringing capital items before town meeting remain in force. This revenue is in addition to Wareham's annual budget for capital items inserted by the Board of Selectmen at the request of the Capital Planning Committee. The Capital Planning Committee will address this article at town meeting.
Okay, in lieu of that, we'll have a town administrator.
Mr. Chairman, just so that we're all clear, we've already done this, Article 3 and Article 1. We did the split out. We did the amortization of the payment back. I don't think we need to send a special act petition up to Boston to tell the town how to put its capital program together. And I will speak that very clearly to the Finance Committee tomorrow evening. This question did come up at town meeting, and town council did appropriately state that you can't govern a future revenue source but you can't tie a body going forward, if you will, unless you had some type of special act legislation in Boston. I would very much find this article to really undercut the town's ability to figure out where our capital needs are, make the recommendation, let the body decide when we bring it before town meeting, as we have in the past. Let individuals get up and speak what they think is good in the budget, what they don't think is so good in the budget, and don't let this will, once again, in article number 1, rob Peter to pay Paul in some instances and tie our hands needlessly going forward in this process, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move favorable action on Article 3.
Second.
Motion made in second. Favorable action, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
1-3-0. Number 4.
Mr. Chair, these are any of these agreements settled? Because I haven't seen, these are placeholders.
Mr. Chairman.
So Articles 4 through 9 are placeholders, and I would suggest that we skip over those since we don't know the terms of.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Town Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, these are placeholders because we are working very hard to finalize a number of agreements that will be coming to the body, the board, then hopefully have approval at the body. So they are placeholders, and I would urge favorable action so that we can continue our strident efforts on collective bargaining to bring all of our agreements in place, and I'll have items before the Board of Selectmen with regards to agreements, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, to make a note on that, I think it'll be advantage to us to go ahead and put favorable action. If we do make an agreement and it has to come before the board, we'll have to wait until the spring again. So,
Mr. Chair, we don't know the terms of any of these agreements.
right, we don't, but we have to approve it, and it doesn't say anything here on the funding of this of the articles as we go down.
Mr. Chairman, I move favorable action on Articles 4 through 9.
Favorable action. Second. From 4 to 9, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I'm abstaining.
Okay. 3-0-1. Number 10.
Mr. Chair, for Article 10, we have the Wareham Pollution Control Facility capital improvements. The water pollution control facility, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow or transfer from available funds a sum of money to fund the acquisition by purchase and or lease of the following capital items, or take any other action relative thereto. Item A, electrical and HVAC, $100,000. Item B, boom truck purchase, $60,000. Inserted by the Board of Selectmen at the request of the Water Pollution Control Facility. The explanation is for item A to fund the repair of electrical panels and upgrading of HVAC system at the Water Pollution Control Facility and pump stations. The electrical control panels have deteriorated to where there is a safety issue. The HVAC system needs to be upgraded to allow for proper ventilation and air circulation for areas where chemicals are used. The HVAC system is a safety situation. Item B. The purchase of the boom truck is to replace an existing boom truck that is not strong enough to perform the duties required of it. As a result, there is a situation where the boom of the current truck could snap or the truck could roll over. This is a safety issue. I move favorable action on Article 10.
Motion made. Was that you, Mr. Ben? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
3-1-0.
Mr. Chair, Article 11 is a transfer of funds to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or to transfer $79,000 from the Harbor Service Permit Reserved for Appropriations account to the Harbor Master Maintenance and Improvement account, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto, inserted by the Board of Selectmen at the request of the Harbor Master. The funds will be used to purchase a diesel four-wheel drive 1-ton pickup truck, additional navigational aids and hardware, i.e. anchors, chains, shackles, VHF and UHF radio communication equipment to enhance interoperability, side scan sonar to assist in search and rescues, and to add 2 additional floating docks to Bessie Park. I move favorable action on Article 11.
Motion made and second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
3, 1, 0.
Article 12 is the community preservation article. To see if the town will vote to transfer from Community Preservation Fund FY 2012 estimated annual revenues a sum of money to the Community Preservation Fund revenues for future appropriation as follows: $70,200 for affordable housing reserve, $5,100 for administration, and $240,149 for the FY 2012 budgeted reserve, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto. Inserted by the Board of Selectmen at the request of the Community Preservation Committee. This is a housekeeping article. These amounts are going into affordable housing and administration to meet the percentage required by law. CPA is required to set aside 10% to be spent in affordable housing, historic preservation, and open space. Additionally, the committee is allowed 5% of the revenues for administrative costs. The budgeted reserve is the CPC account balance after all our CPC articles pass. I move favorable action on Article 12.
Second.
Motion made, second. Any discussions? None. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
3, 1, 0. 13.
Article 13, to see if the town will vote to transfer $55,000 into the Affordable Housing Reserve Fund from previously approved but unexpended appropriations as follows. A, $5,000 appropriated for the affordable housing restriction approved under Article 45, Spring 2010, and $50,000 appropriated to hire a consultant for the Agawam Village reconstruction project approved under Article 43, Spring 2010, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto, inserted by the Board of Selectmen at the request of the Community Preservation Committee. This is also a housekeeping article. CPC is returning money to accounts for completed projects. The $5,000 from Article 45, Spring 2010, comes from Mike LaCava in the Hold'em Realty Affordable Housing Project. The $50,000 is being returned from Article 43, Spring 2010, because Agawam Village did not need a consultant for their renovations. I move favorable action on Article 13.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussions? None. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 4, 0, 0.
Article 14, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund FY 2012 estimated annual revenue or any other available monies in the Community Preservation Fund under open space the sum of $7,423 for payment for debt service on the property known as Bryant Farm, and further to appropriate under historic preservation the sum of $104,128 for payment for debt service on the property known as Tremont Nail, both voted for purchase by town meeting in April 2004, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto, inserted by the Board of Selectmen at the request of the Community Preservation Committee. This is our final housekeeping article. It is our yearly debt service payment for Bryant Farm and Tremont Nail. I move favorable action on Article 14.
Motion made, second. Questions? None. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
2, 2, 0. 15.
Article 15, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund FY 2012 unallocated fund or any other available monies under the category of historic preservation the sum of $163,000 for the replacement of 2 rubber roofs and the painting and protection of all exterior wooden surfaces on Memorial Town Hall, consistent with existing historic preservation restrictions on the property, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto, inserted by the Board of Selectmen at the request of the Community Preservation Committee. This article allows further restoration of Memorial Town Hall. The 2 rubber roofs were not included in the original roofing project. This preservation project seeks to protect the building from further water damage. I move favorable action on Article 15.
Motion made. Motion second. Mr. Snyder. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
3-1-0.
Article 16, to see if the town will vote to transfer under the category of open space from the FY 2012 estimated annual revenues or any other available monies the sum of $50,000 to the Wareham Conservation Fund established by town meeting under Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8C, Article 47, Spring 1963, for which the Conservation Commission may use as necessary, provided, however, that any purchases made with such funds shall be subject to the restrictions and requirements of the Community Preservation Act, General Law, Chapter 44B, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto, inserted by the Board of Selectmen at the request of the Community Preservation Committee. The Community Preservation Act permits local committees to transfer sums of money into established trust funds that meet the requirements of the Community Preservation Law. The Conservation Fund has been established since spring 1963. It will allow the Conservation Commission to respond rapidly to issues that qualify under the Community Preservation Act. I move favorable action under Article 16.
Motion made. Hey, a second.
Second.
Oh, second. Okay. Made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
3-1-0.
Article 17, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Community Events Committee to expend a sum of money, funds drawn from 70% of the hotel motel tax and 40% from the parking meter fund, to the Community Events Special Revenue Account. The funds will solely be used for continuing support and assistance of community events, projects, activities, services, programs, and public improvements which are of mutual interest to residents and visitors of the town, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto.
Mr. Town Administrator, you want to comment? Or Mike, were you going to?
Is there an amount of money?
Mr. Chairman, I believe this is a housekeeping matter that needs to go forward. Derek, do we have anything else on this?
I do have the amounts that the town had received in these accounts. If
Yeah,
you want to
inform the board, please.
Yeah, so from the hotel motel tax, the town received $38,410. 70% of that would be $26,887. From the onset pier parking fees, we generated $37,265. 40% of that would be $14,906. And that'd be a total of $41,783.
I move.
I heard a motion any second.
Did I already make a motion?
Did you make a motion?
No.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I move favorable action for Article 17.
Motion made. Second.
Other money go? The 30% that remains of 38,000, and the 60% that remains from 37,000. That go into general fund?
General fund.
Okay, thanks.
No more questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 4-0-0.
Mr. Chair, Article 18, earth removal regulations, to see if the town will vote to amend the current earth removal bylaw so that the existing bylaw is replaced with the following, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto, inserted by the Board of Selectmen at the request of the Clean Water Committee. I do have I'll make the motion, but I do have a question. I move favorable action on Article 18.
Motion made and second.
Mr. Chair, did we get a review from Town Council on that article?
I think we did, but I don't have it. I don't have it handy. I thought we did. It was either that or was something else, but I'm not sure.
So we don't have it right now. Oh, okay.
Okay. Motion made and second. All in favor? All opposed? Yeah.
Nobody
you-
said anything
Yeah,
yet.
you had second.
All right. It's the cold medicine.
Yeah, that's why I write it down.
It's the cold medicine.
Yeah, because I catch myself, so that's why I'm looking to.
I'm abstaining until we get a...
Mr. Chairman, I just want to, I don't have, my version of the warrant, it doesn't have the actual bylaw in it. Does,
None of them do.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just clear up for the record, I know there's warrant articles going back, I believe, to the 6th of September. So, and I apologize if in fact, additional information is necessary, but we've been at this. I'll check on the town council review and let the board know in the morning.
Thank you.
So I didn't hear anything. You want to leave it blank?
Till we get more information.
Yes. Unless I can ask for a vote again.
So
just
is
to be
everybody abstaining?
clarification.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we'll just put it blank for right now and then until we get.
well, it's going to the printer, right?
I beg your pardon?
It's going to the printer Friday, so it would just be 004 in the... We can re-vote it before town meeting and advise the town meeting of our vote prior to the article once we get that, but for the purpose...
Take a vote now?
Well, no, I think we just all said we were abstaining, so for the purposes of the printer, it would be 004, but then in the past when we've done that...
Put it blank. I think it'll be.
The explanation is more information.
More, right, but in the past, when we do the 6 o'clock meetings, when we've had the information, we've re-voted the article, when we've had a situation like this, so that we can advise town meeting as to our updated vote. Okay. Article 19, Affordable Housing Solution Local Initiative Program. To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaws by adding Article 830, Town of Wareham Affordable Accessory Apartment Program, Amnesty Program, zoning bylaw that will enable residents with non-permitted apartments to bring their property into compliance while providing legal affordable units to residents and families of Wareham as follows. Insert the proposed bylaw. Inserted by the Board of Selectmen at the request of the Affordable Housing Trust. And I'm going to make the motion for favorable action, but again, I'm going to have the question as to whether we got back the changes that Town Council was supposed to be working on.
Okay, motion made.
Second.
Second. Discussion. I
We-
think this was one of them that attorney had written something back that they wanted to go over it, so.
Yeah, but did he?
Mr. Chairman, in all likelihood, this article will be withdrawn from town meeting because as a result of new information, we may not even need to bring it to town meeting in order to accomplish it. So the Affordable Housing Trust is going to be looking at that.
what's the
So it's
pleasure
more
of the board?
information.
You wanna do the same, leave it blank?
Leave it blank.
Okay.
Okay. On Article number 20, this is a petitioned article to see if the town will vote to provide improved checks and balances for when employees and officers of the town dispute their removal or suspension or take any other action relative thereto, inserted by Michael Flaherty and others. Should we go into the explanations on the petitioned articles? I don't think that we should. This actually would involve the Board of Selectmen and changing our, so I'm going to make the motion, but
Motion made.
for favorable action.
Motion made, second. Discussion.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure that we should actually vote on this since it would change our duties. It would make us the hearing officers, would it not? I don't have the actual article in front of us.
Well, we can take a vote and see what happens. If you don't want it, we can leave it.
Well, Mr. Cruz, why would that prohibit us from voting on it? I guess.
I mean, I guess that there's nothing that technically prohibits us, but it would be like if we voted against it because we didn't want additional duties or just, that kind of.
Or didn't agree that the Board of Selectmen should be the hearing officers. And
Well, right, but in the end, you only see the vote, whatever it is.
Right, I understand.
So.
I understand.
Okay, we'll take a vote on it. Any more discussion? None? All in favor? All opposed? Aye. Yeah.
I'm abstaining.
You're abstaining? You in favor? Howard?
1, 2, 1.
1, 2, 1.
Article 21, will the town of Wareham acquire by purchase, eminent domain, or otherwise for a total consideration of $1,400,000 the land with buildings thereon known as the Bay Point Country Club described in Exhibit A attached hereto, or take any other action relative thereto inserted by Gary Cananzi and others. I have a favorable action for Article
Second for discussion.
21.
Second for discussion. Discussion.
I have heard, as we hear everything in this town, that the Bay Point actually sold. So would that result in withdrawing the article?
Well, we can vote yes or no. Are you going for it? And then for sold, it's point is dead.
I understand.
You know what I mean? Yep. So, any other questions?
Well, my only concern is that, and I definitely like it when citizens come forward and bring ideas like this to us, and I want to encourage them to do those things, whether I agree with those ideas or not. But my question is, where would this money come from? I'm not comfortable voting on anything right now with any money involved, and that's my big concern. 1.4 is a big number. And I'm not sure that this would qualify as a purchase from, some of these other accounts that we have. So that's where my worry lies, although I have heard the same rumor that Mrs. Begley has heard, that the property is possibly about to change hands. So it may be a moot point.
Well taken. Any other questions? None. I will take a vote. All in favor? All opposed?
Aye.
I'm abstaining.
Mike? 031.
And the last article, Article 22, to see if the town will vote to require all information that is distributed at town meetings to include the name of the person, group, company, or organization on the information to be distributed, or to act or to do anything thereunto, inserted by Ed Pasevich and others. I move favorable action for Article 22.
Second.
Motion made, motion second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
2, 2, 0.
Mr. Chair, that concludes our town meeting warrant for fall 2011.
Any other town business?
Just want to thank Mr. Sullivan for his fine work through you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you.
Any town business going once, twice? Sewer business? We have a meeting tomorrow, 8 o'clock. If anyone wants to trend at Parkwood at the trailer, for contract number 2. For contract number 2, 8 o'clock. I'll be there, sure. Liaison reports, we'll start from this end. Do you have any?
Mr. Chair, as we all saw tonight, we filled 2 of the 3 open slots on the Library Board of Trustees. There is another slot open. They met last Thursday, and they had a pretty decent discussion with the fundraising groups, both the trustees and the Friends. The foundation and the Friends. The foundation put on a pretty extensive presentation to explain exactly what their purpose is, their history is, the money, how the money gets spent, and what the things that they've spent money on, and they threw out a few numbers which I didn't write down, but so there'll be another meeting of the Library Board of Trustees the 3rd Thursday at 6 p.m., the Library Boardroom. There will be a capital planning meeting this Thursday at 9 a.m. in the Town Hall, and it usually starts in room 23, and if it's too many people, then it moves to either the auditorium or the cafeteria. And that is all.
Mrs. Begler?
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Thank you to this board for appointing one of the members for the Board of Health, since it's been a non-functioning board since Dr. Gleason resigned. And I look forward to appointing the final full member once Mr. Cruz has his questions satisfied. I also would encourage, I think the last meeting, Mr. Andrews, through you, Mr. Cruz, that there were some questions that needed to be answered for the Bike Path Committee, and I will be trying to attend one of their meetings. Unfortunately, I've got multiple meetings probably on the same day. As most of the members of this board can attest, we could be in meetings from sunrise to sunset, and then well past that, as you can see. The Commission on Disability has not met because they've not had a quorum until recently, but Mr. Newman informed me that we will be meeting at the end of the month, so I look forward to that. And I believe that's it.
Okay, going back to the bike path, Mr. Andrews and I did meet with them, and there is a meeting set up for October 5th. And we'll go from there. Mr. Andrews?
Mr. Chairman, through you to the board, we have a meeting set up for the 5th at 10 o'clock at Leadership Team for Mr. Adam Recchi to come, who will be representing SERPID, the planning perspective of the Bike Path Committee. And I want to thank Chairman Cruz and yourself for your hard work on bringing this back into focus, and we'll see if we can get some coordinated efforts with Adam and his team, and keep the board posted. Thank you.
I don't have any. Next on the agenda?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion made.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.